Do you remember I told you about the Millville Cemetery and how dilapidated it is and how unkempt it is? So bad that one couple a few months ago could see through the cracks of a tomb, and they saw the exposed bones of somebody who was buried there decades and decades and decades ago. The Millville Cemetery is owned by the city of Panama City. And it doesn't get much attention. Now, they said it was going to get a lot of attention because WJHG did a story on it. And do you remember the whole ordeal? I'm going to refresh your memory, but WJHG did a follow-up story to it. Let's just say it's not a priority to the officials in Panama City. It's worse than embarrassing. It's disgraceful. I can't believe WJHG and reporter Victoria Scott did such a great job doing a follow-up story. I'm going to show you the follow-up story, but I want to refresh your memory first. This video that I made is only 5 minutes long, and I posted it. Let's see when I posted it exactly. I posted it. It doesn't say. Couple of months ago, probably. Do you know that of all the time I've been doing this, it has more views by far than anything I've ever done. It has well over 1 million views, this 5-minute video, because it's unbelievable. Instead of fixing it, officials in Panama City sent nearly a dozen cops to surround the reporter and the couple who was trying to get it fixed. Because the city was embarrassed, they didn't want to be embarrassed, so they tried to intimidate the couple. Now, city manager Jared Jones, he said it was all just a misunderstanding, see? And so did police chief Smith, Mark Smith. Well, Mark Smith didn't say it was a misunderstanding. He said his guys just went out there and didn't box anybody in, probably didn't even make contact. I mean, once they saw there was no, exposed bones or dead bodies, they just went about their way. It's just normal how we cover things. Okay, watch what I'm going to show you. I'll refresh your memory, then I'm going to show you WJHG's follow-up story. And I want to ask you, if this was a St. Joe project, if this involved millions of dollars and the marina or some multi-million-dollar project for the contractors and engineers who have been, I'm sure, throwing kickbacks around for years, all these thoughts going through my head. Oh my gosh, all these thoughts going through my head. Anyway, I'm not going to get sidetracked, though. I'm going to be the disciplined professional that I am. And I'm going to show you, I'm going to refresh your memory on this unbelievable story. Cops surrounding this couple, disrupting an interview by WJHG. And then I'm going to show you the follow-up story. The way a city treats its dead says a lot about the city. I'll show you the video in just a moment. It's a hot time in Florida, and my friend Ryan can make sure your air conditioning is running at peak efficiency. He could even install a new one, built to a higher standard, American standard. Find out more at PCAirrepair.com. Don't let back pain and neck pain get you down. Find relief at Brown Chiropractic Center on St. Andrews Boulevard in Panama City. Dr. Sherry Brown helps people heal naturally with chiropractic adjustments and deep tissue massage. Call 769-3777. So the video that I'm going to show you right now, I cannot believe this. This was by far the most popular video I've ever created, ever posted. Usually the videos get a couple thousand views, right? This one got well over 1 million views. What? Will you help me out here? Tell me what it is about this video that was so appealing, that made people want to watch it, made people want to comment on it. Watch this. So this is the video I put together. This will catch you up, and then we're going to watch the follow-up story. The WJHG did a follow-up story. Here you go. About 6 weeks ago, nearly a dozen Panama City police officers surrounded a WJHG reporter at the Millville Cemetery as she was interviewing a local man about something he had discovered back in May. The exposed bones of someone laid to rest inside a damaged, unmarked tomb. Joseph Mandeville took the pictures and reported it to the city, which owns the cemetery, and he posted about it on Facebook. 3 months later, the remains inside the tomb of the unknown were still visible. So on August 11th, reporter Victoria Scott contacted Joseph and asked to interview him at the gravesite. Right when she attached the camera to the tripod, several police units arrived, led by Assistant Police Chief Paul Powell. He parked his white SUV in a manner that blocked the parked cars owned by Joseph and WJHG from backing out.
But more than likely, he pulled up where he could safely park and not block traffic from getting by if there was traffic, or he could park without being worried about parking on a gravesite. So he probably just parked where it was convenient and got out and walked. Right.
Do you know one thing I've noticed? I just want to tell you this. One thing I've noticed about police chiefs or sheriffs or the sheriff's leadership, one thing I've noticed is that anytime you see something as unacceptable as this, police chief, this was an interview. I was interviewing Police Chief Mark Smith here, along with his boss, the city manager, Jared Jones. I was interviewing them. That's what what you're hearing right here. And instead of saying, geez, that's, well, let me look into that. Instead, it's, he probably just parked where he could. You know, he probably just, it's always that. I cannot believe how many times I've heard that. Well, they probably just. Now, if you or I do something wrong, it's not, well, he probably just. I can't tell you that is something that bothers me so much because I've heard it a lot. They probably just were in a hurry to get home. They probably just misspelled the name. They probably just weren't paying attention. They probably just boxed him in. They detained him. Chief, that's what he did. And if you don't know, just tell me. You know what, Bernie, I don't know why he parked and blocked them in. I don't know why. Say that. They probably just didn't want to park on a grave. Probably didn't want to park on a dead body. Listen. His white SUV in a manner that blocked the parked cars owned by Joseph and WJHG from backing out.
But more than likely, he pulled up where he could safely park and not block traffic from getting by if there was traffic, or he could park without being worried about parking on a gravesite. So he probably just parked where it was convenient and got out and walked. Right. I can assure you he had no intentions of blocking anybody in. If somebody needed to leave, I'm sure they could have left.
Wrong. Several detectives and uniformed officers swiftly approached and interrupted the interview. Assistant Police Chief Powell asked Joseph, "Can we help you?" Joseph was alarmed by the show of force and began recording on his cell phone. He explained what they were doing there. The officers told Joseph that somebody called and said that he was messing with the grave. But when Joseph asked who accused him of messing with the grave, they wouldn't say.
The information we received is not the information or what's going on. So
what information did you receive?
You were out here messing with it, supposedly.
Who said that?
What happened?
They said that I was messing with the grave.
So
Just now?
No. But that's how I found it. No, I'm telling you, you stand here.
that's the information that was relayed to us. That's why we're here.
I mean, you see it.
All right. No, I see it. I don't.
Somebody saw it.
I don't think you're out here messing with it, but we have to come check, right?
So the officer on screen there, the one you can see, same thing. It was probably just somebody driving by. No, it wasn't. It was the police chief's boss that called and lied. It was Jared Jones who called and lied. It wasn't probably just somebody driving by. No, it wasn't. It's illegal for us. We'll go to jail if we lie to law enforcement. Ask the greatest mayor in Bay County's history, Margo Anderson, who served 30 days in prison because she said she met somebody a few years ago in December, but it was really October. For that. But when they lie to us, it's Tuesday. And damn it. It's probably just, man, it's not probably just. You guys had to call it in, right?
That.
What happened?
They said that I was messing with the grave.
So
Just now?
No. But that's how I found it. No, I'm telling you, you stand here.
that's the information that was relayed to us. That's why we're here.
No, it wasn't.
No, right? No, I see it.
Somebody saw it and
I don't think you're out there messing with it, but we have to come check, right? So that's the only reason why we're here, because people don't pay attention and they blurt whatever comes out of their mouth first, right? So
I don't know who did that. All I'm
Yeah.
trying to do is get
So
some
there was
dignity
someone
for
from the
this.
side of the road
We're
who
gonna-
saw something and called you
Nope.
guys?
from
Nope.
the limited information that we received, they weren't sure if somebody was out here delivering.
It was the police chief's boss. It was Jared Jones, the city manager. When she called earlier that morning, she called Panama City to get somebody to come on out for the interview for this news story. And the city manager didn't like that. So he called the police chief and had the police chief send the cops. It was the person who called was Jared. How do I know? Watch.
deliberately messing with it or whatever the case may be. So they called us. So that's why we came out.
The investigation report states that an unknown passerby reported an unknown person, but that's false for these reasons. One, Joseph and his wife had been with the reporter at the cemetery conducting an interview. Two, Assistant Police Chief Powell boxed in Joseph's parked car and immediately began questioning him. They knew who Joseph was before they arrived, as you can see on the officer's body camera.
get Mr. Mandible's name. Somebody just do a information report.
But most importantly, an unknown passerby never reported an unknown person messing with the grave, as the police report states. We know who made the call, and we know who received the call. Police Chief Smith got a call that morning from his boss, Assistant City Manager Jared Jones. The unknown passerby is actually the police chief's boss. You see, that morning, the news reporter called the city's public information officer, asking for an interview at the cemetery. But a news story about neglecting the tomb for 3 months after being notified would make the city look bad. So instead of sending someone to be interviewed, the city sent the police. Now, Assistant City Manager Jared Jones says that when his public information officer told him about the call from WGHG regarding the exposed bones at the cemetery, he called the police chief out of an abundance of caution.
I got a call from Caitlin Lawrence, and she notified me about the exposed bones at the cemetery. And she said, "Hey, and Bernie, I'll be honest, I can't recall if I knew there was an interview going concurrently, or if there was one about to be there. But the information I had at the time was that there was exposed bones."
Do you believe that story? Let's say you're the city manager, okay, and your public information officer calls you and says, "Hey, we just got a call from the WGHG. They want to do a story about the cemetery we're neglecting." Okay? And there's a tomb that's so broken that you can see the bones. Now, You're the city manager. Do you A, go and do the interview yourself like you should? B, find the mayor or somebody to go out and do the interview? Or C, send the cops. He sent the cops. Out of an abundance of caution, man, I didn't know what was going on, so I said, get out there. It might be a dead body or something. I don't know. Are you out of your mind? If you have a question about it, call WJHG and say, now, what exactly did you see out there? What's going on? You don't send nearly a dozen cops to disrupt an interview. Look, I'm pretty good at reading people's voices and being able to tell if they're telling a big lie or not. You tell me what you think. Listen again.
Bones. And I said, Caitlin, I really need to notify Chief Cemetery. And she said, call from Caitlin Lawrence. And she notified me about the exposed bones at the cemetery. And she said, hey, and Bernie, I'll be honest, I can't recall if I knew there was an interview going concurrently or if there was one about to be there. But the information I had at the time was that there was exposed bones. And I said, Caitlin, I really need to notify Chief Smith because I don't know if this is criminal or if this is an illicit burial, if this is actually a grave site. Like this is, and Bernie, I'll be honest, it's the first I heard of it on.
Do you know how stupid of a story that is? All you got to do is call WJHG and say, hey, okay, I just got a call from my public information officer. I know you guys just talked. What's going on? Who believes this stupid cover story? It's the dumbest cover story I've ever heard in my life.
On the 11th of August. So as you can see, I kind of rapidly reacted and said, hey, Chief Smith, I just need somebody to go out there and put eyeballs on this.
But that doesn't make any sense for these reasons. One, why would WJHG call the public information officer to report human remains or a body or someone messing with the grave? They would have called the police directly to report suspicious activity. The reporter called the public information officer for an interview. Two, the cops who interrupted the interview never looked for human remains or exposed bones when they arrived. They zeroed in on Joseph. They knew exactly who he was and what car he drove. And they told him that they had received a call that he was messing with the grave. Three, the police report completely contradicts what the police chief and the assistant city manager are now saying.
So, Mr. Thompson, I received the phone call from Jerry.
All of this is very disturbing. The city neglected to fix the damaged tomb for 3 months, but only 20 minutes after the reporter finished the interview with Joseph, the city was there repairing the gravesite.
After speaking to News Channel 7, Panama City's Public Works Department, Quality of Life Department, and other city officials came out on Friday to fix it.
The vault is now sealed, and we're effecting the correct repairs and being as respectful to the individual that's buried there.
You know, the way a city treats its dead says a lot about the city. But much more disturbing is we have a falsified police report pointing to an unknown passerby claiming that Joseph was messing with the grave.
That's the information that was relayed to us. That's why we're here. You're right. No, I see it. I don't. Somebody saw it.
So nearly a dozen police officers crashed a news interview that would embarrass the city. And this raises an important question. If city leadership and the police would lie on a police report about Joseph and his efforts to bring dignity to the person laid to rest in a damaged grave, what else are they lying about? How many people have been arrested and put in jail because of falsified police reports? Isn't that a good question? So, all right. So believe it or not, WJHG did a follow-up story because Panama City, its assistant city manager, Jared Jones, said, we're going to take good care of this place. Right. Have they done anything? I've got a bunch of pictures to show you. Not tonight, actually. But I have them. You won't believe the city cemetery. They care a lot about the St. Joe projects. They're all over that. Somebody needs a call back, it's done immediately. All right. Do you know this has been an ongoing problem too? Look at this. I'm going to get this whole story for you, but the best I could do right now is just show you this picture. This is from 2021. Turns out Joseph wasn't the first person to find exposed bones in the grave. Teenagers found a skull in an old grave in the cemetery that's supposed to be kept up by Panama City. I mean, I've seen the picture of the skull. This is an ongoing problem. And I just don't think it's on their priority list, is what I'm trying to say. And who's going to be held accountable for this? More than 1 million people saw that video I showed you. You know, I'm going to the city council meeting. I've made sure all of the elected officials have seen this story. Yeah, it's a little embarrassing. And a couple of them actually called Joseph Mandeville and apologized for the city's response. The mayor did. The new mayor, Doc Rowan, called. And the city commissioner who's responsible for that area, Jenna Halligus, also called him. And that was really appreciated, Joseph told me. But is anything being done about this? How serious is the city taking this, is my question. All right, now I want to show you the follow-up story. WJHG did a follow-up story just about a week ago, maybe a little bit longer than that. It was about a week ago. All right, and I'm going to show you that right after this.
You want to look good? You want to feel good? Little John's Big and Tall is where it's at, right across the street from Sky's Pizza Pie, 5700 North Davis Highway. You can find out more online at littlejohnsbigandtall.com. He's also a member of the iTex trading community, where your iTex dollars are welcome.
When your life is on the line, hire the lawyer who lives in our community, works in our community, and worships in our community. I'm El Saulene, your Panama City Beach lawyer. 850-215-0628.
All right, let's take a look at this. The follow-up on the story you just saw, they actually did a follow-up on it to see if anything's been done. All right, let's see.
Back in August about exposed bones in the Millville Cemetery. Panama City officials vowed to increase inspections at grave sites after the incident. So we did a little digging to see if any changes have been made. News Channel 7's Victoria Scott has the story.
Panama City owns the Millville, Oakland, and Greenwood cemeteries.
There are 3 cemeteries that we noticed a lot of the graves says Millville's number 1, and there's some areas around Greenwood Cemetery that are questionable with the drinking and the alcohol.
Concerned resident Joseph Mandeville says Oakland follows in 3rd place.
Oakland Cemetery is also a little bit under the TLC side, where the Norris grave is just completely knocked over since Hurricane Michael.
City employees sealed the exposed bones at the Millville Cemetery once News Channel 7 brought it to light in August.
And in August, they finally fixed the Bondo work on it and sealed the grave up, but then left it. We need to find out who's buried here and get them a proper headstone.
Mandeville says not enough is being done to improve the overall condition of the cemeteries.
To be honest with you, we see a lot standing around. I mean, every once in a while you see somebody with a shovel, but they're not really doing anything.
The city's new quality of life director says he's working on a plan with the assistant city manager.
We've been making some contacts and we're trying to work on some policies that will clean the cemeteries up.
Medford acknowledges there's a problem, but he says there's only so much the city can do with limited resources.
But we're doing the best that we can with the resources that we have.
It's a waiting game for now.
Give us some time. Let us keep working at it.
In Panama City, Victoria Scott, News Channel 7.
The new Quality of Life director says he's meeting with the Board of Funeral, Cemetery, and Consumer Services next week. He says he hopes board members will provide proper guidance.
Now, I'll tell you something. I don't know the new public works director, but I feel for him. Because if this was, look, if it's a glowing story, if it's a good story about the city, man, these politicians, they'll fall over each other to get on and be the one to brag about whatever. A new project, a new giant sidewalk, a St. Joe project. But something as embarrassing as this, they put the brand new public works director up there, the guy not responsible for not keeping up with it. Hey man, you go up in front of the camera, just tell them that we're doing the best we can. That's unbelievable. That's probably the only airtime the guy's going to get. This is terrible leadership. Terrible leadership. If I was an elected official in Panama City, I would be calling the news station, trying to get an interview, saying, look, here's our plan. We wasn't on our radar, but now it is. And we care deeply about our ancestors who are buried here and their families and our neighbors. And this is a disgrace to the city, but we're gonna move this up. All right. In fact, it'll be a topic. It'll be an item at the net. We'll have a discussion item at the next city council commission meeting. Do you know they haven't even done that? There hasn't even been an item for discussion. People are being held accountable more lately, though. Just ask Greg Brudnicki, the former mayor. He lost the election after Sheriff Tommy Ford endorsed him. You wouldn't believe the things that I want to tell you. I cannot believe he did it. I mean, the things he knows. But he did. Sheriff Ford endorsed him, and Greg Brudnicki still lost to Doc Rowan. People are tired of being dismissed when they go up to speak. They're being tired of being treated like second-class citizens to the donor class. If you don't believe me, just ask Al Cathy. He's the former mayor, longtime mayor in Mexico Beach. He lost to Michelle Miller. What an upset that was. And although Sheriff Ford didn't endorse Al Cathy, the prosecutor, the main prosecutor, your elected prosecutor, Larry Bassford, the state attorney, Larry Bassford, he prosecuted her as soon as she said that she was going to run for mayor. They prosecuted her. She was on the planning board, and they prosecuted her for a sunshine law violation. It's like the only sunshine law violation prosecution ever, when it happens all the time. But Larry Bassford, the state attorney, who's up for re-election in April, by the way, Larry Bassford prosecuted her, and then he had to drop it. Just like he had to drop the prosecution against James Finch's wife, Ashley Finch, when she got arrested by Chief Ricky Ramey in Lynn Haven 4 days after he was on the witness stand and embarrassed. Chief Ramey arrested James Finch's wife, and Larry Bassford prosecuted her. Now, for several months, and then, of course, just like all these cases, they dropped it because it was a bullshit case. They just wanted to torment the ever-living out of people. If you don't believe me, ask Mike Gordon. He was also arrested by Chief Ricky Ramey to please Vicki Gaynor, his city manager. She pressured him to arrest Mike Gordon, the building official, because Vicki Gaynor was mad that he wouldn't give a permit for the new house that she bought in the neighborhood that got flood mitigation because they asked James Finch to borrow another $900 $100,000 or so. And James Finch obliged, made the neighborhood nice. Vicki Gaynor liked it so much she went and bought a house there and then lied to the FBI and tried to get James Finch thrown in prison. But that was not, two juries found him, two juries wouldn't convict him. The last jury finally said not guilty. False arrests to please city managers. People are starting to get held accountable, though. Like I said, Al Cathy lost, and they tried to besmirch Michelle Miller, splashing it all over the news as she violated the Sunshine Law. It was a lie. And she won. She won. And now we found out that, the former mayor, Al Cathy, while he was the mayor, was also a vendor of the city because he owns Ace Hardware in Mexico Beach and voted for hundreds of thousands of dollars. Evidently, hundreds of checks written to the mayor's Ace Hardware store. And now everybody knows. But Sheriff Tommy Ford thinks that's proper, and evidently so does the FBI. And WMEB keeps running stories about the crazy broad that upset Al Cathy. And running cover for the hundreds of thousands of dollars that he got from the city while he was the mayor. How much of that was FEMA money? Do you know FEMA falls under the jurisdiction of Homeland Security, not even the FBI. So if the FBI is not going to do anything about it, if the sheriff's office is not going to do anything about it, they know of, they say Derwin White, the late president of JC Contractors, they say that he made off with about $15 million in FEMA money. Where did the money go? Nobody's chasing it down. Where did the money go that Chief Ricky Ramey got in the sack of cash that Michael White gave him? I watched him talk about it to a judge. Yeah, police chief gets a sack of cash. Somewhere between $35,000 right after Hurricane Michael and $173,000 based on the two guys who were in prison, Michael White and Mickey White, no relation. So people are being held accountable. You get people are losing elections. People are fed up. More than $300 million of FEMA money has come through Bay County since Hurricane Michael. Does it look like it to you? Mexico Beach still doesn't have a pier. $49 million. Their FEMA consultant in Mexico Beach said $49 million went to debris pickup. So there's proof that we spent it right. Really? Contractors are notorious. You've got to trust them. Whatever they say and the hours and how many people, and you just got to trust their invoices. They don't even trust but verify. They just trust and seems like $49 million. Seems like Mexico Beach got $100 million. Look around Lynn Haven. Is the flooding any better? Look around these places that got all this money. Panama City. Hey, in Panama City, they got a ton of money too. Are you still having sewer water going into the bays? Why? I'll tell you why. Because if they fix it, they can't get more grant money to give to their contractor people, buddies, to get God knows what the kickbacks are. I had a law enforcement official who knows. Tell me one time. Oh, he knows. Tell me one time. He doesn't think there's a contract that goes down in this town where there are not kickbacks. That's why the FBI told a judge in 2021 that Bay County's more corrupt than New Jersey and New Orleans. And the only people who were arrested were not the ones stealing the money. The big two were the whistleblowers, Mayor Anderson and James Finch. They arrested the whistleblowers. But people are starting to be held accountable. Vicky Gaynor, who I was just telling you about, the city manager that pressured Ricky Ramey. Ricky Ramey, doesn't take much to pressure him, though. He's always falsely arresting people to please his city manager. Just ask Mike Gordon, the former building official that Vicky Gaynor was mad at. Just ask Ashley Finch, the wife of James Finch. Just ask the lady Ricky Ramey arrested a few years ago as a favor to Michael White, the city manager at the time, who's now in prison. So yeah, all this money that was, we know it, I've been told, and it's in the court records, at least $15 million to Derwin, about $5 million maybe out of Lynn Haven that they know of. All this money, where did it go? Nobody's in. Where's the money? It got stolen, but who has it now? Well, Bernie, we're doing the best we can. It's probably just, but it's not even the FBI's jurisdiction. The money belongs to Homeland Security. And I know they're watching. They're always watching. I mean, my goodness, Homeland Security, that's your money. It's our money, but you're the ones that's supposed to be overseeing it. I mean, if the FBI, they're not going to do anything about it. Geez. How many more people could you spy on if you could get that money back? You know, I mean, it seems like there would be some motivation here. Homeland Security oversees FEMA money. Well, we just write it off as shrinkage, Bernie. Just write it off as shrinkage. Ooh. Anyway, but I'm noticing it's harder to win elections. And in April, December, January, February, March, 5 months. In 5 months, I wonder who's going to be upset in those elections, because I think the word's getting out. And I think it's pretty obvious it's what's happening nationally is happening here, because it's not a Democrat-Republican thing. It's an insiders versus the outsiders thing. And we're on the outside. That's what's happening. It's a crony thing. It's kind of a good old boys thing. It's more like locally, it's more like a fraternity, is what it's kind of like. All right. Speaking of this kind of cronyism, I want to share with you again. I want you to know about this because he's up for re-election. Panama City Beach Mayor Mark Sheldon is up for re-election in April, and I want you to know about this. This particular 1-minute clip is a listener-sponsored news segment. Mayor Mark Sheldon is pushing for a $10 million pedestrian bridge to connect Frank Brown Park to Aaron Besant Park. It's great for music festivals. It's the city's #1 priority this year. They've got a bunch of projects, and they plan to spend $236 million. 2 years ago, the budget for the city was only $42 million. That's why locals are paying so much more in assessments to the city. Mayor Sheldon says it's worth it. After all, he owns Gulf Coast Jam. The city's #1 priority will benefit his music festivals. He wants more state and federal grant money as a slush fund.
These are significant projects that will make a huge difference in our community. The first is to pursue any available state aid for the planning, design, and environmental studies related to a pedestrian bridge connecting Aaron Besant Park and Frank Brown Park. This walkover would link these two public parks and provide a safer avenue for our residents.
It's all about safety is all. The number one project, it's all about safety. Hey, St. Joe's getting infrastructure paid for by the taxpayers. And since nobody's going to arrest me, and boy, they've been up his rear end for a while now. They know all about Sheldon. But evidently, he's got some protection. And the sheriff's office is getting Gulf Coast Jam tickets now. Boy, 2 years ago, I didn't see that coming. That's unbelievable. And you guys are mad at me? It's unbelievable. All right, I want to thank those of you who helped me bring you this show and throw a tip in the tip jar as little as $5 a month by being a patron. That's the best money you can spend on the internet. You tell me this isn't worth $5 a month? Patreon.com/Bernie Thompson. That's how you can become a patron and support my efforts. It's easy. It's anonymous. And you can quit at any time. Also, of course, I want to thank the Unknown Patriot for your support so that I can bring you this information. Speaking of FEMA money, I know what's going on in the county. And wait till everybody else finds out what's going on in the county. My team knows what's going on in the county regarding FEMA money. And, oh, boy, you don't want to be... I keep telling you, Washington County, they thought nobody was looking. I mean, geez, they're getting away with it in Bay County and Walton County, Bay and Walton. But what they didn't take into account, the poor Washington County commissioners and FEMA directors and all that stuff, what they didn't take into account is you don't have the protection that Bay County and Walton County have. They got big protection. Big protection. But in Washington County, you guys don't have that. Remember I said this, because we'll be talking about that in the not too distant future. I do believe. All right, I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you so much for being with me, and I'll see you soon.